Well, honestly, this is kind of interesting. Tag did go up 6,000 submissions in a month. But before we even jump to conclusions, we're gonna go ahead and break it down and kind of be as transparent as possible and analyze all the possible reasons why we're having this kind of outcome. So if you guys are looking at the little charts that are provided by GemRate, this is going to give you the overall grading totals of every single company from the month of January and the month of February. And honestly, I'm not going to say I'm not surprised, but the one thing there's two things I'm kind of surprised about. The two things that really stand out, right? So let's go ahead and break it down. We're looking at PSA. In the month of January, PSA graded 1.91 million cards. 1 million, so almost like 2 million cards. And then in February, it went down. They went down to 1.86. Whenever we're looking at CGC had 456,000, and they went to 451K. So they went down 5,000. I mean, not bad. I wouldn't say that's a considerable significance. That's still pretty good for them. Beckett, this is one of the crazy ones. Even after being bought out, in the month of January, they had 66,000 cards being graded. And then they went up to 88. That is 22,000 extra cards they found and they graded in February. Now, I don't follow Beckett. I don't care much for Beckett, but if you guys do, I love it when you actually leave me comments and you know why. Go ahead and leave me a comment and why these numbers. Why is there a possible reason why Beckett's numbers went up so high? Was there a sell? Do you guys think that maybe PSA is outsourcing their sports category to Beckett, which is kind of interesting, right? Then we go at SGC. SGC went from 43,000 down to 41,000, and that is not bad, pretty consistent. And of course, if you guys are like me and you guys are tag fans, as obnoxious as we are, and but PSA fanboys are worse. Tag went from 38,000 to 44,000 in the month of January to February. Now, that is a considerable jump, but you know, we have to be honest and we kind of have to talk about it, like why, what happened. I doubt as of right now, like the news with PSA and the whole Deoxys ordeal have caused people to switch over to PSA. One thing I have noticed for the beginning of this year, though, is there's more content creators like in the space, bigger channels, right? If you guys are watching me, and I'm relatively small, I'm small, right? But there's bigger channels who are doing a lot more cross grading with tag and they support tag. So I'm wondering, like, it's kind of like what I predicted earlier last year. I'm saying that the more influence or the more content creators, graders, I can't say there's any professional graders. Maybe there is. I think maybe we'll get to the point where we do have professional graders, which is going to be ridiculous. But with how intense this hobby is getting in the market and how much money there is in this market, don't be surprised if all of a sudden later down the road, whether if it's through TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube, you're watching something quote unquote as a professional grader. Because no matter whatever we do, there's always a critique. But there's a lot more content coming out on tag, and it seems like it's starting to get a little bit more traction. But I still don't believe that it was like the Deoxys thing to make a significant effect. The one thing that I'm going to put my money on is that on the month of February, we're seeing more of the holiday submissions being graded during that time. Now, um, Tag did run a promotion during the holidays periods, right? And they kind of reduced the pricing for bulk rating, and we could possibly be seeing a side effect of this because now grading is taking around 45 days, or bulk grading is taking around 45 business days. Now, honestly, I don't love that. I hate that tag is taking so long. 45 days is long, and I'm saying 45 days is long because it's enough time for the market to switch, right? But if we're being completely transparent, there's a good chance that a lot of that grading is coming from the holiday grading. Now, One positive thing is they still went up 6,000 cards in the month of February, and February was a short month, right? Or short, it's a short month. We're talking about 28 days. So 20 business days, right? So there's a good chance, sorry, it's a small month. So I'm more interested in what's going to happen in March. The reflection that we're going to have in March. Yeah, is Tag going to maintain? If it's going to go up? But the other one that will keep my eye out is going to be Beckett, right? That jump is significant, and and I'm happy that for 1 month, Tag went from the last major grading company to fourth place. So we're kind of getting some traction, but honestly, my biggest eyes for this is if Tag really wants to, to have like a meaningful impact, is Tag really kind of has to get to those CGC numbers. We got to start breaking like 100,000 cards per month whenever we're talking about grading, like enough for people who are like PSA cultists kind of start like perking up. Because there's one thing I do see, like, also I think for the most part, if you watch my channel, it's because you guys are supporting Tag, right? And I do love it that whenever I do make a video dedicated to them, because that's what my channel is, like, it's Tag rating, right? And we talk about it all the time. You guys are extremely supportive, right? And every once in a while, we do have PSA fanboys who jump in and they try to, like, really like support their brand. And you guys do whatever you guys want, right? But I like we honestly, like I said, like, Tag is not going to overtake PSA, not in the immediate future. Now there's a possibility that Tag will overtake PSA, but that would take years, right? We're talking about possibly this Pokemon, the second bear run, or sorry, second bull run, the second bull run, for it to have more of a Tag influence. Now, if you guys are anything like me, you guys like to watch other content creators, and I watched the episode of the Car Lounge, right? And they kind of cover a little bit more detail about whatever happened with the Deoxys card. And honestly, the one thing that one of the hosts, sorry, I can't, not Jake, the other guy, and I'm so sorry, I really liked him in this episode, like the way that he was talking and the way he was analyzing things. But it's like one of the things that he was saying is like, what if there's a couple bad apples in PSA, because they don't highlight the grader, they're highlighting the company. But what if it's a PSA employee who try to get smart, saying that they damaged the card, right? Because the pictures haven't came out, or whenever this story comes out, the pictures haven't been provided for the card, right? But what if the employee for PSA said they damaged the card, so it's a 6, right? Um, they're like, okay, well, you can keep the card and I'll take the cash, right? They keep the card, and all of a sudden, the same card, because it's very hard to get, is all of a sudden a 10 under their possession, right? There's always that kind of possibility, because not everything is transparent with PSA. But I'm telling you, it's going to keep, like, it's crazy that we're to the point where whenever we're talking about PSA scandals, it's not a PSA scandal every single quarter, or like every once in a while. It's like it's a scandal, or it's a story every single week. Every single week, there is a new story about PSA and their grading. And one of the things that they asked, and it kind of makes me think too, is like, what would PSA have to do to break trust? Like, to break trust on graders. And if you're a PSA fanboy and you've made it this far, honestly, just be honest. Take a second to be a decent human being, have some common sense, and say out loud, like, this is what PSA would have to do to me to break my trust. This is what PSA would have to do to the community to break my trust, right? Because it's like one of the things that I'm gonna say is, like, whenever we're talking to business models and the things they have done, PSA PSA has done some amazing business moves where they've definitely in the last 2 to 3 years have made grading cards or graded cards extremely popular, extremely liquid. Something that used to be a rare commodity is like an everyday or like every household kind of thing, and a lot of it, we can attribute it to PSA. But just because they're the kings in leading industry doesn't mean they're going to stay like that forever. There's a couple things that people are going to always end up appreciating a little bit more, and that's going to be the transparency and the consistency. But most likely it's going to be transparency. Like, don't get me wrong, PSA can be very consistent in grading their cards, and since they're so big, it can only take one or two stories of them being inconsistent where they're grading. Sorry. Sorry. Or of their gradings, where people will be vocal and talking about it. But since they're grading such high numbers, that one or two stories is actually 100 stories, and only has to be one story covered by a big content creator for it to really blow out, right? But like I look at my audience, right? I look at the people who watch me, and for the most part is between the age of 25 to 40-year-olds who are in the card hobby, who are into grading, who are grading into tags. So this is my general audience, whether it's male and female. And ask yourselves, as we have gotten older within our age group, right? One thing that I think we can really appreciate the most, especially once you start hitting your late 20s and your early 30s, after learning painful lessons over and over and over again, is transparency. Like, it's like, I'm sorry. I mean, like, and I know this is where PSA really likes to shit on God, like shit on us, right? But it's like, yo, we are just waiting for we want transparency. We just want something that people can, like a product or something that people give us back, and we know exactly what we're getting. Like, I'm tired of seeing, oh yeah, like this new trending food, but they have like harmful chemicals. Everything that we have is like bad for our health. Like everything that we eat, like companies are taking shortcuts. We're not eating real food anymore. We're being brainwashed. This is like, owning a house can be a trap. Like, it's always something like, for growing up, like always trying to live, like, I guess, was like the American dream, right? Or just work hard and you know work hard, earn good money, and spend your money wisely, come back to you. It's like, can we just have a company, or can we just have something that is not literally going to fuck us over? Like, I think that's all we're asking for. So I think, honestly, whenever it comes to that, I think a lot of people really do want tax to succeed, because in a sense it could be that they're looking for that one thing in their daily lives that is not screwing them over, that is just telling you, hey, I know this card is special to you, or maybe you just pulled this card from a pack. You thought you could maybe make some money. Maybe you could, right? Or like, oh, this is the first card that you pulled with your significant other, with your kids, with your friend. It came back a nine, and I'm sorry, right? Well, not even a nine. It's a good card. It's a nine, right? Because I'm telling you, as I keep doing this, I'm gonna keep cracking PSA nines and sending them to tag, and you'll see some of them will be coming back as tens. The card that I sold in the latest vending event, like near me. Um,
Well, if I happen, guys, like I told you, people do buy tax labs, either if it's to resell or in their personal collection. Right here with me, I got,
John with Pokey Nugget. Follow my Instagram, Pokey Nugget.
yeah, and he went ahead and bought the Ends restaurant for $100. So it's a done deal. Come on, go ahead.
Dude, I'll say a few things about tag.
And then real quick, can you give us the audience why you actually like collecting tag, or why do you grade with tag yourself?
Tag's actually amazing. They're super transparent with their grading. When you send a card to get graded with them, they'll send you all the metrics of the card and everything that, why they graded it the way they did. So that's something PSA, CGC, Beckett does it a little bit, but Tag is super transparent with it. Plus, look at this slab. Beautiful, clear, transparent, just a beautiful slab. And when you have them all together in your case, they look amazing.
yeah. So, like, literally, I sold the Ents restaurant to someone, to another vendor. I sold the Ents restaurant to a vendor, right? He bought it, right? And I asked him afterwards, like, I asked him, and he heard his response. He loves the transparency, he likes the aesthetics, but he's around my age group, right? So it's just, people I think are really gonna keep on latching to that. So as much as I'm happy right now that Tag is in the fourth spot, like I wanted to overtake Beckett. Once we start overtaking Beckett and starting closing those numbers with CGC, and then I know for a fact that Tag has a real merit for grading when it comes to resale value. Until then, I will say that Tag is most likely in the collectors as like is more geared to collectors, and I think that's absolutely perfect. There are still going to be some collectors who are going to be spending money and buying tag rated cards because they know the quality of their cards. And I think it's smarter for collectors to go with tag rated cards because if you're a true collector, you're going to be in this hobby for years to come, right? And this is one of those things that I was out with my friend Chris, who's been in the hobby for longer than I have, right? Collecting physical cards way more than I have. He's like, look, whenever he was looking at the cards at the vending event, he would look and then he would tell the vendors like, hey, I'm sorry if I'm being rude, but like if this is for my personal collection, like yeah, not only do I want the card, I want the best possible copy of that card. And like and he would give it to me to look at it and see like, hey, you think even if I got this card as a binder copy, you think if it has a grading possibility? And I had fun talking about that. And I also had fun like going with them and like seeing some of these raw cards and telling them like, hey, you see that Mew EX promo card over there? Yeah, if you grade it to tag, just know that you have a 15% chance of that card coming back as a 10. You know what? I had fun saying that because the numbers are there. You can go ahead and do the math for yourself. Please stay in school and do your fucking math, right? But you can give them information. We have the numbers. We have like, hey, this is this is like a card, like yeah, you have a 15% chance of getting this card as a 10, and then you can go even deeper. The last card that got a 10, or the lowest card, is a 954, and the highest one is a 989. That means if a card has 989 points, there's no pristine 10 yet, so you can be the first one to chase that. So this is where I love tag, and he sees it, like he can kind of see it too. But so like what does it mean? What can we do to help? Like what can we do to help for tag to go from a collector's grading company to like a resale company? Well, whenever I was there talking to every single vendor, I was trying to sell some slabs. I'm like, hey, would you consider buying some slabs? They would look at them and they were like, I would want to, but they would also show me a couple of their slabs there. Like I haven't moved those in a bit. Like they sell online slowly, but they don't move in person. And I wonder if people are embarrassed of buying tag slabs, whether vendors are buying tag slabs, or yeah, vendors are like embarrassed of buying tag slabs or selling, right? And like, so what can we do to help? Like, even though we are grading more with tag and the numbers keep going up, I think the louder thing is going to be the resale aspect. If we want to make tag viable as a reselling slab, we have to speak louder with those actions out in the market, like out in the open. And what I mean is like if you see like any eBay listings of tech slabs and they're comparable comps to PSA 10 prices, you don't lowball them. You pay that price, right? And like one of the cards that I'm waiting to get back right now, or getting back, is going to be the Bulbasaur from Mega Evolutions, but mostly because I sold my Japanese copy that I got, my Bulbasaur Japanese tag 10. I sold it. I listed it for $45 because that's fair market price, and someone, they didn't hassle me. They just went ahead and bought it. And honestly, thank you, sir. Like I really do appreciate that. But it's because that's what's going to help. Now, if you go to collector and you look for that 45 sold dollar listing, that's me. I sold that car, someone bought it. So now the new price on that Bulbasaur is $45. I think also there's a good opportunity, or I'm not gonna be surprised. And one of the things that we see is people manipulating tag slabs because they have lower population. And this is gonna be growing pains. However, whenever there's some market manipulation in a hobby or in a card, there's usually tends to be good for the cards. Some of those cards tend to go up on value, and people will memorize like they get affected by that. So like even though you should be buying online for resale value, um, pay the price that is fair. Pay the price that is accurate. Don't overpay for the price and try to manipulate the market, because then you're gonna end up doing more harm than good. But if we start seeing this, then we probably know that we have some couple bad apples in that, and they're seeing an opportunity to exploit people. So if you're grading with tag, please be careful. I mean, just because you see a tag slab going off on crazy prices, don't follow that. You might get burned. So be careful. If you have it, try to sell it, right? But don't buy it at a high price. Um, but yeah, online, buy tag slabs. If you go to you go to vending shows and someone's vending tag slabs, do trades with them or buy their slabs. Like one of my favorite things that I like to do, and I don't know about you guys, but whenever I go to a vending show, I do one initial lap. When I do the initial lap, I'm looking at the cards that I'm interested. I'm seeing how many other tables have those cards, what are the prices, but I do not buy any cards in my first lap. First lap. Now after my first lap, I go ahead and usually get the items that I have that I want to go ahead and trade in everything. And then that's whenever I'm like, okay, I start making my moves, right? So one of the tables that I first talked to, I talked to the vendor, and then he was super cool, and he told me that tag is on the come up. Like he was telling me all the things that I would want to hear, right? So whenever I told him, it's like I had some one piece stuff that I was looking to trade in for some of the stuff, and then he was interested. Whenever I'm like, okay, well, I got some tax labs, would you be interested? He politely said no, but he was asking his partner, and his partner was hard about it. Right now, it's like, no, no, no. Like, if we were going to give you prices, we're going to go off of the tag prices and not off because I told them my tag slabs sell at PSA prices, right? But they just wanted to give me tag prices. And this is where the low balling can hurt like sellers, right? Um, Sellers or vendors, right? So like he said, he was just going to give me like 70% of the tag prizes, and I thought that was completely absurd, right? As much as I want these cards to be in circulation, you have to be smart about it. So I said no, thank you. The items that he was interested, I told him I'm going to go shop around, because if he's not committed to the thing that I believe in, then I don't want to. And like, it sounds bad, right? But I don't want to support the business, right? So then I go to a couple another table, and then some guy asked me, he's like, hey, are you selling the one piece or you're trading it in? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So we start talking it. And one thing I did notice, he had two tag slabs. Next time I'm going to start recording these events so you guys can see. But he had two tag slabs, and I asked them, what about those? What are you doing with those? It's like, oh, I like them. I like tag and everything. They're a little hard to move, but sometimes they move, sometimes they don't, right? And then we shifted conversation, and there was a couple of cards that he had that I wanted. Actually, no, yeah, the Mu EX. So, I made a deal with them. I told them like, hey, the table's gonna give me this. Can you give me this for my one piece? He says, I can't go that high. I can meet you here. Um, and yeah, right. So at the end of the day, I took his offer. It was a little bit lower, but I took his offer because he actually has tag slabs in his table. He supports it. So I'm like, oh, if he believes and like in the things that I like, absolutely. You know, yeah, have this. Let's make a little deal. Now his labs didn't have anything that like I want in my personal collection as of this point at this point. But I kind of honestly regret asking what the price like, just buying it out. Like honestly. Now for the last guy that I talked to was gonna be John. And John, like I said, he's the one who bought Ange Reshiram, and then he told me that he likes to grade. He likes to grade with tag, not because only the faster turnaround points, but it's just he knows that tag, at the very least, if it doesn't blow up, it could be used as a weapon or as a tool to help you make some money down the road. Because at the very least, like the way that me and him we talked about it, and I liked it because we were thinking around the same way. Like whenever you grade with the tax lab, yeah, you can call it a permanent or temporary case? To me, it could be a temporary case because we both understand that the market for graded slabs or graded cards could break. It can be overinflated that it could crack. It is not really what it is. So that scene could break. But we still believe that even if the graded cards fail, you still have the raw cards behind plastic. But better than that, you have raw cards with information. So if grading error becomes again popular through another company or through another means, at least you have information that can kind of help you to get the best version of that card out there. So that is an amazing tool that Tag gives you and PSA doesn't, just because they don't give you the dig data report. So we had that conversation. He bought that, and he'll tell me a little bit more about his collection. And I'm like, well, honestly, I'm kind of happy that I met him, and I'll probably see him in the future and kind of ask him a little bit more about that. And the last thing that I ended up doing was buying this EVGX. Now, my friend Chris thinks this is one of the best EV cars out there, and he says he has bad taste. And I guess I must have bad taste too, because this is by far one of the best EVs out there. One of the best EVs. It's dopey. I know, like, don't get me wrong. Like, I know the card is gonna do horrible in a grade, but it's gonna be awesome to have it in your collection. Like, this is one of those times where I'm like, I don't care if it's a 9, or I mean, honestly, I think it's gonna be an 8.5. But even if it's an 8.5 in my collection, hey, that is super dope, right? But that's something also that I feel like Tag can go ahead and capitalize on. I don't know about you guys. I don't know where you guys are at, but if you guys are going table after table after table, grading itself has gotten a little bit out of hand, a little bit pricey, even for bulk grading cards, especially through PSA. And PSA right now is the market, and everyone's dealing with PSA 10s, right? That you're kind of seeing the same slabs over and over and over again, and that for every single table, right? I think CGC might be the only one that kind of gives like a little bit more variance. But I think this is a fantastic place where tag slabs could really, or like really take place in the market, right? Because it's still like pretty accessible for grading, pretty cheap. When we're talking about you sending the cards and you're not getting any upcharge, so you have the liberty of actually sending more family friendly, less value cards, special moment kind of cards, or just different Pokemon out there. The more people who want to collect, there's always that, right? You don't have to send a high chase card to get the most back for your return to break even. That's where like Tag really does shine with that no upcharge. Because, sorry, going back to the card lounge, he was talking about Jake. This is a Jake story. He was talking about how he sent like 10 to 20 of the Chinese evolution, one of them. But whenever he sent them, the cards went over $1,000 per card. So he got upcharged for every single card that hit a 10, you know, $50 per card. Now that Pokemon or that Eevee in that Eevee PSA 10 doesn't break 1,000. It's going for around $250. Well, he already paid that upcharge, and that card didn't maintain its value. PSA is not going to give him money. It's not going to give him credit for giving him that upcharge for making that mistake, right? PSA took his money, and that's the risk. And this is where I think it's ludicrous that people pay that stupid upcharge, because you're paying more money for that value right now. But later, if the market crashes, you pay the upcharge for what? Especially with the 151 cards, especially with the Ascended Hero cards, the Mega Evolutions. You paying that upcharge for what? For them to potentially fail? Sorry, not Evolving Skies, but like Ascended Heroes and like 151. Like, that is extremely hot right now. That is the what's defining right now at this moment. I'm sorry, like Prismatic Evolutions had its run, but I don't think we had enough hype. Like, the Ascended Heroes hype and the 151 hype is like on another level. Like, Prismatic Evolutions didn't reach this, right? But like, as much as 151 is a good set, I don't. like I hate to say this, but I don't even think it's the best set in the Scarlet and Violet era. Like, I'm sorry, it's not. So there's a good chance if you're paying that upcharge on the Charizard EX, you paid it for nothing because that card could crash later on. Same thing for Blastoise, and I love Blastoise. The Squirtle's going crazy, but then you look at the Ascended Heroes, and then this barely came out, but we're talking at the Mega Gengar, Dragonite, the other Mewtwo. Like this came out, like, what if Ascended Heroes is one of the first sets that gets reprinted to the ground whenever the new printing company comes out? Because if the company, like the new printing facility, is finished in 2027, that is still within 2 years of its reprint window. Why wouldn't they reprint one of the most successful sets, right? I don't think it would be 151 because that would be a little bit too far back. That would be within 4 to 5 years since the initial release, but Ascended Heroes will still be right around the borderline of what they've done. And like, what if it crashes the Ascended Heroes market? Because that set is humongous. It's humongous, right? So it's like, this is where like I enjoyed having that conversation with John because he's like he understands that the grading market could crash, right? But like Car Lounge Jake felt like he got like they stole money from him. Like he's not saying it verbatim, but this is a risk that even professional graders, right, or people who do mass bulk grading, who are paying like upcharge after upcharge after upcharge, could be left with like they get money stolen out of them because the market crashes on these new modern cards. So, I mean, those are going to be some of my elevated thoughts of the night. If you guys made it this far, please, I mean, thank you. Like the video, please like the video, subscribe. Yeah, I mean, honestly, so far, even some of my videos have been blowing up, but only 5% of my viewers are subscribers. And I think at this point, I hope you guys are. If you're watching this far into this channel, that you guys know that I'm completely invested in supporting tags. So if you're a tag grader, it's like perfect. Don't be afraid to like hit that button. Also, if you listen to me as you're going from work, because this is it. Like I'm not putting any fancy graphics or out there. Like from work or in the shower and stuff like that, you just need background noise. I want to be your background noise, just so we can talk Pokemon, so I can help you like think outside the box when it comes to this kind of hobby, because this hobby is already kind of consuming your life. It's exhausting, and if you don't have anyone to talk to, it's like, hey, drop it in the comments. I want to hear your thoughts. I mean, I had a lot of people drop comments in the Pikachu video and the Van Gogh Pikachu. Like, I didn't know, thank you guys, but I didn't know that literally PSA was grading the cards inside the plastic, but they were still putting them within the Van Gogh Pikachu population report. That should be completely separate, so it's stuff like that where I'm having conversations with my the audience in the comments that I really enjoy, because I don't know everything, but like the more that I have a conversation, the more I talk about this hobby, and I can talk about it online, the more people will hear. But outside from that, I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I'll see you next time.